Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Before I introduce you to two of the most important people in my life, here's a quote just for this episode. I can't help losers, but I can help winners that are currently losing. Can I help you? Brad Lea, the real Brad Lea. Today is New Year's Eve Jubilee, as Mr. Mike Drop Calhoun would say. I am so excited to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, go check out episode 49, season 5 of the Culture Matters podcast. That is the last time Brad was on the show. Check out episode 552. What is an advisor? Mike, Mike Drop Calhoun. I'm here with two very important people in my life, Mike Calhoun and Brad Lea. Um, Today I'm dedicating this whole day, Brad, Mike, to someone very important to my life and this show. That you guys never got to meet, and that was John Schwartz. He's been on the show 9 times. He was one of the 12 ordinary men that did the show last New Year's Eve. And on September 16th, 2024, so recently, we lost him. Um, we love him, we miss him, and I wish you guys could have met him in person because he would have loved to be here right now and seen
He would
this.
have
But
loved to have met me.
we talked about you all the time. And so I love you. Good to see you. Today's theme for New Year's Eve Jubilee. We've been up since 5 a.m. It is 2024. Like Kierkegaard said, life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forward. So we're talking about our word for 2024, our word for 2025. Mike, Brad, Mike, you know each other, and I just want you to know how important you both been in my life and my development. And there's no better way for me to end this year than with you two, and I mean that. Other than seeing Jen after this, so thanks for taking the time.
Well, thank you for having me, Jay. And Mike, it's always good to see you. I was trying to throw a little levity into that sad moment with the passing of of your good friend. So I apologize for trying to throw levity in there. But
Great word
I
choice.
always believe that, the only sadness that surrounds passing is for the people that remain. Because I do believe in a higher power and I do believe he's in a better place and he wouldn't want you to be sad in any way, shape, or form for him. But I can understand why we're sad for the people that remain because we obviously don't get access to him anymore. But think about this, guys. Think about this. I've thought about this a lot. Imagine,
I love my conversations with Brad.
imagine if we died right now. And they say that there's no time, right? In the afterlife. There's no time, like time isn't a thing there. So if you can grasp that concept and you die, and the minute you realize you die, everyone else you know has too. So we think we're going to be missing people that we leave here and that they're missing us, but in reality, the second you open your eyes and realize you're in the afterlife, everybody's there too. Doesn't that make it a little easier? Like when I die, I'll wake up or I'll realize that I died and everyone that was here is there too, because there's no time there. And it could have been 80 years between us. But in reality, you're not ever without them. Like when someone dies, so does everybody else there, just not here. Does that make sense? Like
I
imagine
love
someone
it.
dies in 1980 and then someone
Love
that
it.
they love dies in the year 2000. For us, there was a bunch of time that went by, but in reality, the second they passed over, we were there too because there's no time. We're all dead. This is just a construct. See what I'm saying?
I follow you completely. Mike,
But
what do you
anyway,
think?
I don't want to get too deep. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm very good. I'm
The
very
only
well.
The only guy I
I,
know with a better voice than mine.
Yeah.
uh, actually, I was a little distracted. I apologize. Um, I was just telling Jay, do you know what Chrome Hearts is?
Yes.
So the founder was just texting me and Jay's like, what's Chrome Hearts?
Well, tell him that I've misplaced my Chrome Heart tank slappers, and I'm wondering if he can get me another pair.
I'm sure he can get you anything you need.
Chrome Hearts, Jay, is a fashion brand that makes clothes, leather jackets. I had Chrome Hearts sunglasses, which I still have them somewhere. I just can't find them, but they had ivory. They're just bad. It's just a badass
It's
high-end
like a
type.
rock star brand, right?
Rock star is a good way to put it because
Yeah.
it's like a rock star wears that shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When did you guys first meet? And do you remember? Because
Who
to me, it's
introduced us,
like,
Brad?
I don't know.
I'll tell you right now.
I don't know. All I remember is coming to the board of advisors in Florida, and Grant called me and said, "Do you want to go to the World Series 7? I'll pick you up on the jet on the way there." And I told you, and you said, "Normally,
I was running the entire
yeah, but you said,
Brad's like, dude, I'll scoop you up like right out of your meeting. Grant's gonna, I'm like, I can't leave.
yeah, but you said normally I might be upset that you're leaving, but in this case, I would tell you to leave." So I didn't get a chance to stay for the whole thing.
I am fairly skilled in negotiation, but I was not going to negotiate that because it would have been foolish.
when I think of you two, I think of in the superhero movies like the Avengers, when what Mikey, yeah, when
That's the last one.
two Avengers meet, two Avengers meet. That's what I think of. And I can't really, I don't know. I just put you, that's why I asked, like, when did you meet? What year? Who introduced you, if anyone? And what, because,
Rondi introduced us. I just looked it up.
See, the fact that he can look it up is good.
wow.
Every single intro, I know exactly where it came from.
Rondi Lambeth, he did.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Brad, my word for 2025 is intensity.
Mm.
And for anyone that's interested in listening, go to episode 675 and you can listen to why. But if did you have a word for 2024, Brad?
No,
If you did, what would or could it have been?
for 2024,
Yeah. Yeah.
my word would have been allodoxophobia.
It's a good one. And what is that for those that don't know off the top? I know because you've taught me, but for those that don't know what that means, what does that mean?
The fear of other people's opinion. 2024 was a year for me to cure and try and rid people of their allodoxophobia because I think it holds people back.
Mm.
But this year, I do have a word, and it's action.
Oh, wow.
Action, my friend, that is the difference between big companies and big ideas.
How so?
Well, the world doesn't reward potential. So you can have all the potential in the world, but if you don't take action, nothing happens. Just like when you're filming a movie, you can say lights, camera, but until you say action, nothing happens. Well, that's the same in life. And the world does not reward potential.
Mm.
So this year, I'm all about action. Not only that, but again, I mean, a lot of people fear taking action because of allodoxophobia. So last year I was setting the groundwork, and this year, as you know, we learn when we orate and when we write we learn ourselves. And so this year, even though I was trying to rid the world of allodoxophobia, I kind of rid myself of it. So this year, I'm just going to simply take action. I'm finally excited about something.
Holy shit. What are you excited about?
Well, dude, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I dropped out of high school when I was 16 years old. I never listened to anybody. I learned everything the hard way. I took a lot of beatings, a lot of lessons, and I've discovered that I do know what the hell I'm talking about. And more importantly, I can help people uh, get out of the rat race. And, I always wanted to be the hero for people. And now I've come to the realization that I can't be the hero, but I can be the guide. So at the end of the day, I'm going to take action this year and show people how to get out of the rat race. I've got a step-by-step plan for people to learn, and if they implement what it is I'm telling them, they will not only get out of the rat race, but they'll change their entire existence.
I want all of the listeners to know if you care what I have to say as you listen to this show regularly, there's nothing Brad's ever told me that wasn't the truth or didn't work. The only problem was if maybe I didn't want to hear it because I was too busy talking over myself or it didn't click. Like even like Mike, you might not even know this, but this remarkable, he was like, you got to get on the remarkable. You write all these books, you write. And I'm like, I mean, you could probably do the impression better than me. But basically, no,
Well,
I'm
first of all,
attached.
he had to look like this. And he said, part of my enjoyment is the pencil to paper. I said, dude, it feels like that. Trust me. But what do you do with all those journals? You're stacking them up. Eventually, you're gonna be a hoarder in a room full of journals. I said, with this, dude, you just press a button, there's a whole new journal. You can organize, you can freaking categorize, and it's just one thing that you can carry around and bring it out anytime you want. I said, trust me, dude, you need to get a remarkable. There's a reason they call it that.
The whole company, I can't imagine my life and all the people that I've been able to serve. It's truly unbelievable. So if for some reason the audience doesn't know who the real Lee is yet, and they haven't bought the hard way, and they haven't studied it, mindset, skill set, habits, there's a reason I'm wearing the real shirt. He is the real deal. So the remarkable has absolutely revolutionized, helped our my ability to help people. But I digress. I just want to make sure if those that don't know that, and Mike didn't know that story either. But I like to take ownership over that because I didn't listen at first.
Yeah, but you
So
you end up you ended up executing and taking action, and that's the difference. See, a lot of people will give me credit. I get a lot of credit that it's very undeserved. I get a lot of DMs that say you changed my life, you did this, and I always feel a little bit guilty, and I never knew why until realistically, when you boil it down, it's because I didn't do it, and I can't take credit for something I didn't do. All I did was give them information. They're the ones that changed their life, which is what led me to the realization that I can't be everybody's hero, even though I want to be. I can't be. Like only you can be your hero. And that's what they say, no one's coming to save you. And, again, it starts to dawn on you as you get a little bit older. It's like, wait a minute, I'm trying to be everybody's hero, and that's probably where I'm stuck. I need to move aside and be the guide. I'm simply the guide. I'm gonna look, I've built a ladder out of the rat race into the next level, but you have to climb. I can't climb it for you. So
mm,
if you're willing to climb, there's the ladder. I call it real training. It's better than any college degree. You may argue that, but I think it's better than any college degree. I'm going to make it rival your beloved Peterson Academy because instead of sitting around listening to a bunch of philosophers philosophize and give us their opinions, because that's what they are, they're just opinions, I'm going to give people the facts. And I bet you if I started to talk about the facts right here on this podcast, you guys cannot argue. I wish you could, but I don't think you can.
You can't
what
accelerate experience.
what can you elaborate on that, Mike?
Well, what he's talking about is like Peterson is theoretical and conceptual. And I mean, until recently, has he built a product, platform, or service? Teams, support. I mean, there's an entire ecosystem that goes along with building an organization and a company. Uh, it's fascinating to understand the mechanics and be wildly educated, but to have the experience of grit and pulling something up out of nothing. I mean, that's what creators do, and that's what entrepreneurs do. Like, some of the best, actually most of the best, erected from zero.
Mike, what do
They
you,
erected from
oh,
impossible.
sorry. In the time that you spent with Brad over the years, what would you say is one of his core values that stands out of what makes him who he is to so many
What I
of us
like
listening?
about Brad is Brad values excellence.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, Brad values excellence. Um, when I flew out there to meet Brad at his location, at his office, at his studios, I mean, I met the team, I met his assistant, I sat in his boardroom, I sat in his studios. Brad Brad actually is a unique character where he has style, but he has capability. There's competency that a lot of sales trainers or sales facilitators in general, um, they're able to sell the dream, but they're not able to back it up. And I think that my first impression of Brad was dead on. Like, this guy has a genuine desire to be number one. He has a genuine desire to be the best. And he welcomes competition because it's the gas that's in his tank. And I think it's really the essence of what makes a great entrepreneur, right? And I think what Brad's doing is he's not inviting the quitters, he's inviting the winners who maybe aren't winning currently. He's like, look, I can be your guide, I can be the advisor, and I can show you your value so that you can win in your marketplace, in your demography, and your like, I think people want to respect their leader. They want to admire their leader. They don't want somebody who knows it all. They want somebody that they can be like. And I think that's what Brad is a great example of that.
Brad, what do you mean by I can't help losers, but I can help winners that are losing?
Well, I mean, you can't help a loser. A loser loses. That's why they're called losers. So again, if you're currently losing, but you're actually a winner, I can help. I just can't help a loser. I can only help a winner that's losing.
What would you say are some for our listeners so they could self-reflect on which category they'd fall into? Are there some behaviors that stick out in mind where you'd say that's a loser that is not a winner that's just losing?
Yeah, I mean, not just in general, but for example, if someone cannot believe in themselves and does not believe in themselves and has no inkling that there's a possibility, then that's a loser. Somebody that cannot bet on themselves, somebody that's unwilling to take a chance on themselves. To me, that's a loser. Someone that consistently loses and will always lose, in my opinion, because of the aforementioned, to me is a loser. Like, dude, you have to have a little tiny bit of optimism or a little tiny bit of belief in yourself, or I can't help you. You have to be open-minded a little bit. Again, I mean, it's more of a play on words because a lot of people, they feel like losers, which is part of the problem. You need to feel like a winner. Well, how do you feel like a winner when you're losing? Well, dude, you're a winner that's losing. Losing's okay, but you have to understand that you're not a loser, you're a winner, and winners win, and you can win. You're just currently losing. If they're like, yeah, I see that, then you're a winner. Okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean,
Are they winners that are losing? Or are they winners that are learning?
Mm.
well, again, I mean, losing by the definition that most people give it. What you just said is also true. But, when someone says, he's a loser, well, dude, then I was a loser. Okay. So was I. And so am I, technically. Okay. So, I mean, we're all losers in that regard. But I think the best people to help people are the people that have figured it out for themselves. So, in other words,
Mm.
I can only reach back and help the person I used to be. I can't help someone I wasn't
Hmm.
prior. I mean, to me, dude, I dropped out of high school at 16. I ran around like I knew everything. I didn't read anything. I didn't understand anything. I wasn't aware. I didn't
Hmm.
pay attention. I didn't believe. I had no confidence. I had no self-worth. It was all the opposite of that. But through the years of learning and realizing I understood that, listen, I had it in me the whole time. I just wasn't listening. I just wasn't,
Mm.
willing to shut up and pay attention and do the work and build what was necessary to achieve everything that I wanted. So I wanted all this, but I didn't know how to get it. And so now that I've gotten pretty much what most would consider, a dream life, I know how to help the person I used to be, which is technically a loser, but
So,
I was
Brad,
a
I have a question.
winner. I was a winner that was losing. In other words, I was never a loser. That's the realization people need to come to. I was
Exactly.
I was a winner. I just didn't realize it. I just didn't know it. So when I say that, it's kind of just a word play. I can't help losers. I can only help winners that are currently losing. And how I do it is very simple. First of all, you got to get their mindset in a better place. You got to shift their perspective. How I see things is my advantage. I see things differently than most. Some people will see themselves in a bad situation. I'll see myself in a strengthening situation, meaning people pray for the strength and then curse the discomfort that strengthens them. It makes no sense because they don't realize that's good for you. It's almost like a trick in life. If you seek comfort, truly comfort, you're going to end up uncomfortable. But if you understand life and you understand that it's kind of a trick, well, then if I really want to be comfortable, then I have to seek discomfort. Because if you seek discomfort and you spend your life being uncomfortable, you'll end up comfortable. But if you seek your life for comfort, you're going to end up uncomfortable. Disagree.
Brad, getting to a place of, like at a certain point, you have a few million in the bank, like the basic concerns go away, right? Once you're at that point, like a guy like you, what is it? Because the pressure when you're coming from a place of, in a sense, you're a winner and you're in a state of survival. There's a tenacity and there's an instinct and there's a drive. Like there's a fire in the belly that ends up creating kind of this nuclear energy to win. But then once you get over that line where survival isn't on you, right? What is it that then drives you?
Well, I are you asking me for me personally? Well, first let's welcome Mr.
Yeah,
Glenn
the,
Yopes to the call.
everyone that's listening, episode 653, the one and only Glenn Yopes is here. Welcome. Thanks for coming. You're the best.
Well, Jay, anytime you ask for me and let me know that my brother Brad's there, I'm here as best as I can be.
M- Meet Mike Calhoun, Glenn Yopes, two
Mike, nice to
amazing
meet you.
men.
Glenn, pleasure.
It's
Yeah,
my pleasure.
ultimately the conversation was surrounding me, and I thought, well, who better to talk about me than Glenn?
Yes.
Yeah, I know a thing or two after 20 years, Brad, how to talk about you, my friend. I'm proud of you.
Well, what I was just saying, and Mike just asked a question, once you reach a couple million in the bank, what keeps you going? What keeps you going? Is that what your question was?
Yeah, then at a certain point, like you're not in survival mode, and I think a lot of us manufacture stress to create our performance because of where we came from, right? So once you get there, once you get to a point of you're not in a survival instinct reactionary mode and you're not hunting, what keeps you in that success mode? What drives you? What are you shooting for? Because I think there's also an audience, there's a mid-tier audience out there that is more of the crisis audience of, you know what, I did a few things right and I'm comfortable. How do I resurrect my drive?
Yeah, well, in my case, I believe that I remained abundant, meaning, I like to believe that I have an abundance mindset. So I think what a lot of entrepreneurs do is they'll start out with nothing and they'll start building and they'll start risking and they'll start believing in the possibility and they have ambition and they have hunger and that drive that you're talking about.
Mhm.
And then they get something and
Yep.
then they become scarcity based because
Here's
now
the thing, because I think
now
they're gonna lose.
they have something to lose.
Mhm.
And so they start operating in scarcity without realizing it because now that they have something, they're thinking, well, no, now I got a couple million. I don't I have what I need. No, that's actually you're now shifting back to scarcity. Well,
Now they're starting to lose again.
I just try to stay in abundance. In other words, to me, a couple $1 million in the bank, it's nice, but I might as well have a couple $1 trillion in the bank
Sure.
because there's no limit to, like, in other words, I don't look at my bank and say I only have $2 million. I believe I have $2 trillion, like, and I act as if I do. I don't, Glenn, you were walking around the mall with me. I was we were kind of talking about this. I walk into a store and I act as if I'm a billionaire in my head already. And I tip people like that and I buy things like that. And everybody else is like, dude, what are you doing? That's crazy. Well, if you truly have an abundance mindset and you truly had $1 billion, would you act that way? And my answer is yes, I would. So I just try to stay in abundance and it keeps me hungry because I think a little piece in the back of my mind just causes this attraction of abundance.
Well, I think there are individuals that are truly driven, and I think there are individuals that are reacting to desperation. Being in a point of survival, you're kind of in a reactionary mode. You get to a point of 5, 10, whatever million in the bank, and you're still pushing that. Like now you're a genuinely DNA built driver. Like
Mhm.
you're you're not, you didn't just get to a place of comfort and you lost it. Like it's in you, right? So when you say if you're a winner and you're losing, or if you're a winner and you're at a point of learning and you're going through a brutal moment, right? And you, Brad, are their best advocate. Like, how do you install the permanent drive in an individual versus like a temporary reaction to their emotion?
I would say just through education and maybe a little inspiration.
Hey, Glenn, isn't this part of the topic of your new book about unlearning and relearning? Is there some segue in that?
Well, sure is, Jay. And, I don't know if you guys saw it, but thanks, Brad.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
awesome. It's
Thanks,
a
bud.
great book. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if you saw Brad's quote yesterday in my Forbes article about what you guys were just talking about. That, you know, there's a lot of winners and losers in life, but there's a lot more people nowadays who are winners that are losing.
Yes.
And that really, you know, Mike, that, you know, I spent 5 days or 4 days with Brad a couple weeks ago, and that stuck with me. Besides spending great time with him and his family, that stuck with me the most, because that's what I'm seeing all around me. Is there's a lot of winners, people who are winners that have earned the right to be a winner, who are losing, and why are they losing? Um, and I think it goes back to what you're asking Brad, Mike. Is you get to a point where you think that you're winning, but what you really don't realize is that you may have won at some point in time, but when you were actually winning, were you relevant? And the answer is no.
Yes.
In other words, we measure winning, whether it's money or promotion or, you know, things. But more and more, what I'm hearing from people, in fact, I had a discussion about this the other day. You've been proud of me, Brad. I threw some Brad Lea at them, not in terms of content, but in terms of attitude. And, you know, they were talking about, hey, Glenn, man, you've got to, I mean, you speak with such conviction. You know, sometimes maybe people aren't ready to hear that. And I said, are you in it for yourself? Because that train left a long time ago. I mean, if you're not in it for the generation that's coming, you're wasting time. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, do you feel relevant? And he said, who does? And I told him, I do.
Hmm.
I go, I'm extraordinarily relevant. Now, am I winning at the level that I want to win at? Of course not. And that's what keeps my drive going, Mike. Not because I'm losing, it's because I'm surrounded. I think we're all surrounded by people who, more often than not, have never really been relevant. They've just been in circumstances and situations that made them smell and taste success. But that's why I think people who are looking for significance are always hungry, because they know that making another million actually has nothing to do with their relevance. It's about, now you're at a point in life when you're in it to help make others relevant. Because in the end, if we don't create communities of relevancy, then we stand alone in isolation. And that doesn't bring anybody any joy. And I think, you know, back to Brad, you know, when he says that I help winners who are losing, I can understand that, because there are communities of people that just play the part. And I think that this is kind of the moment that we're at now, and why, you know, I personally believe that people are playing in a heap of quicksand. They're getting sucked into someone else's reality rather than their own. So I don't know, I'll stop there. Does that help out, Jay?
Oh, Glenn, I have a question actually though, but what do you think Brad's core values are that leads him to be able to help winners that are currently losing?
Yeah, number one is I'll go back to how you started this, Jay. You know, the toughest part about reinvention is facing the truth of all the things you need to unlearn. I mean, think about all the things that you were told that were necessary for you to find happiness, all the things that you were told uh, that would guarantee some form of career success and better life. Maybe they worked, but did they last? Did they have a long lasting effect? And this is where, again, I'll bring it back to Brad when he talks about, and it's a central theme of everything he talks about being real. Um, Part about being real is knowing that a big part of our entire makeup is artificial, because we've learned things and we have followed things that we've been told that would work for us. But when they really have no uh, connection to what matters to us, or what is purposeful to us, and what we need to feel happiness within our inner self, You're just following somebody else's playbook rather than your own. And so to create your own playbook, you have to unlearn a lot of what you learned until you realize, hey, you know what works for me? This works for me. That works for me. And I can be proud of that. And back to the point you made with Brad earlier, Mike, that's when I can remain hungry because now I'm owning something that matters to me. And you're not chasing what matters to everybody else.
Yeah. You know,
Just some thoughts.
your conversation reminds me much of my investing life. It's interesting how so many people have so much input on how you should invest, right? Where you should put your money, what's the best strategy, and wildly interesting enough, it's like everything that I either knew, researched, or became wildly interested in did very well. And everything that everyone else wanted to steer me into almost never did.
There you go. Perfect example. Keep going, Mike. Sorry. Perfect example.
Yeah. And it's not just about investing, like we're talking about building businesses and really the fulfillment of the owner, founder, CEO. I just think the point that I was trying to provoke is guys like Brad, you, Jay, myself. I don't think there is a level where we get soft, right? You get a few mil, you get 10, you get 20. Like we're a different breed and we're not getting soft because of a digital figure on a screen. We're still built to do what we do, right? And I think at the very beginning of the conversation, like those are the people that Brad wants to invest in. Those are the athletes that he wants to build a relationship with and that he can be valuable to.
Mike, what was your word for 2025?
Brutal.
No,
Oh, 2025 value.
And why?
Well, my good friend Jay taught me a thing or two in 2024 about understanding when you build a community of human beings, they arrive on a playing ground where they're all looking to extract value, but they're not sure how to bring value. You don't train them and build a culture around it and a easy, definitive mechanism where they have all 5 fingers on their hand and they can say, okay, well, like I actually have motive, I have intent, I have financial competency, I have experience, I have intellectual property, and I have a Rolodex that makes me valuable to other people in this room. And the leadership has qualified me through the way in the door. Like sometimes they don't even understand the value that they're bringing and they don't understand the value that they're exchanging. 2024 taught me that when you're dealing with, let's say, Glenn, how many years of experience do you have? There's a reason why Brad hangs out with you.
Oh, yeah. In terms of what type of experience, Mike? Just business experience?
In business and like just in being a badass.
Oh, and being a badass? Well, I'll tell you, that happened when I was a senior in high school.
Cool.
And you know what? I didn't have to act like I was a badass. I was the contrarian, if I may, Mike. I mean, just to give you an example, because words are cheap. So I was, doesn't matter the title, but I was a student body president. And what I did is the teachers every year had a teacher appreciation week. And the week before, they went on strike. So what did I do? I canceled teacher appreciation week. I had teachers that today would have been thrown in jail. They were literally up to my nose, right up to my face, using words that back in the 80s, I mean, come on. all I'm getting at, I was unafraid to challenge hierarchy just because they had it and I had the truth. So that's why I said when I was a senior in high school, this is where I unleashed myself.
Well, you had an innate belief system that even if they challenged it, you stood your ground.
Thank you, Mike. Well put.
Yeah. So
Brad,
but in business, how many years?
As an entrepreneur,
Sure.
since 1990, 1997.
Okay.
1997. Yeah.
So what is that? 23 years?
Yeah.
Or
Well,
27 years. 27 years.
Yeah, 27 years.
Brad?
You're on mute, Brad. You're on mute.
I guess I would say, because I tried a couple things before I got anything going,
Mm-hmm.
but the one that where I finished it was 1999.
25 years. So there's 52 years just between you two, right here on the call. Brad, do you have any IP on your side of the fence?
Do I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course you do. What about you, Glenn? Yeah, that's what I expected. What about your Rolodex, Brad?
Immense.
Yeah. Stunning, right? Glenn, your Rolodex?
Well, I'll give you my real response. I know a lot of people. But back to what you mentioned earlier, Mike, there's probably 10 at most, and I'm being generous here, that I would consider a friend.
And I believe that that's an actual very real number, because a lot of people want to talk about everybody that's in their Rolodex, but there's probably a dozen straight backers of a human after 25 years. A lot of people say they will, but they won't. And part of what Jay and I have been working on is like understanding the years of experience, and those years, there's a pie chart of those years, and what, like, Brad is doing a thing currently, but he has stuff from before. You are doing a thing currently, but you have stuff from before. Same with me, same with Jay, right? You have IP you've crystallized out of all that Herculean effort. And then you also have this Rolodex of everyone that you've invested in conversations, time, lunches, engagement, you've contributed to, you've earned their trust. The wild factor is individuals coming across the platform are already valuable because they can transfer those three things instantly, and it costs them nothing. Does it cost you what does it cost you to make an introduction to Brad? A text?
It's a very interesting question. Can I go just off the?
I like this. I like this. I like challenging this.
It's interesting. It doesn't cost me, it costs somebody else. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to introduce anybody to Brad unless I think they're worthy. And on the flip side, I don't want, and again, not just Brad, anybody I trusted, and I don't trust many people, but to do these kind of things. But I also want to know that it's not going to waste Brad's time either. And that once they meet, there will be instant value. Because both sides aren't going to want to waste any time to go discover it. They would expect me to bridge the value. And so there is a cost, not in money, but in wisdom and in ensuring that, because I actually believe that every introduction I make, I have a responsibility associated with it. That's just me. Some people just like.
You have a reputation associated with it.
Pardon me?
You have a reputation associated.
Oh, yeah.
with it. Yeah.
Yep.
And Jay, what he just said proves exactly the fact of your ladder all the way up into the Rolodex, which from the energy into the Rolodex, which back down the ladder produces the conservation of the energy. Yeah, that was actually very, very insightful.
Brad, what is one of Glenn's attributes over the last 20 years of friendship that's led to his success, his immense success?
I don't know if the word empathy, but Glenn has a unique way of understanding, discernment.
Mm.
Wow. Discernment.
Like Glenn has a way to observe a conversation, not even part of it, and then can literally articulate where it is and what it how it's transpired and really how to solve for it.
That's almost like a biblical terminology. I like that.
How did you guys meet?
Glenn and I,
Yeah.
probably light speed in some form or fashion, but it was serendipity, earning serendipity,
What makes you say that?
because Glenn's first book.
Oh,
Mhm.
Glenn, you might remember the past better than I do. How did we meet?
oh, Glenn, you're muted.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Can you see?
All right.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Can you see me?
Yep, yep.
All right. Hey guys, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to sign off here in just a moment. My mom, who's 89,
Oh.
I've been taking care of her, and she had a stroke about 8 months ago, and she's having, she's starting to get a little bit sad. So I got to tend to her. Um,
Amen. Yeah.
but I remember that I met Brad through a consulting gig I was doing with a gentleman named Todd Duncan,
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
High Trust Mortgage. And I was flown out to meet with Brad because Brad was, he had a license deal with Todd for his content for the Lightspeed platform, and we just clicked. I mean, it's very rare in life do you meet someone and you automatically just know, you know, and it's not as if we like hugged and had this party. I mean, you just kind of knew that we both belonged in the same room and that we can be honest with each other. And over time, the relationship built until it became something real special.
And coincidentally
You've known each
enough,
other for
like,
how long?
and what's coincidentally is like Glenn's from the other side of the tracks, as it were. Raised well, good parenting, education. He was the youngest executive at Sunkist.
Wow.
And all these degrees and like symposiums and things of this nature. And here's old freaking rough around
Privileged.
the edges Brad Lea.
Well, as I always tell Brad, 2024, I thought a lot about him because what I saw was the convergence of Brad's wisdom of knowing that predetermined path for success those days were going, and the individual had to start figuring it out in a very real way on what they wanted in life, and how those very people are the people many of them I've been working with in these large Fortune 500 companies that are less about being defined by their work anymore. They want to break free from that career quicksand and start being more like Brad. I mean, it's really something interesting how after all these years, 20 years later, this really cool convergence of thought has come together because we both, in many respects, solve for the same thing. But it's just packaged differently. And he did it with a group of individuals that were kind of looking for to get ahead in life without a lot of focus. And now those same people are the ones that one would say are successful in corporate America, but they're actually more lost than the people that Brad were trying to work with. And so what does that mean? Is that what Brad's thoughts and beliefs were this whole time were right?
Glenn, thanks for coming
Hey,
on the show.
hold on, Jay. Before you leave, Glenn, tell them about the test I took, because the conversation was, basically who I am and what I solve for. What would you say?
Yeah, he. If I can say this very quickly, his what gives Brad differentiator. His differentiator is that he craves common sense because his whole experience with people is about getting to the point. Because what he solves for is clarity. He's the focus igniter. He's in search of accelerating people to get to the end game. And that discovery was made over at his house in Vegas probably 12 years ago, and it still stands true. But guys, I got to head off. But
Glenn,
thanks for your time.
smile.
And guys,
There you
Happy
go.
New Year to you. Okay, to all of you and your family.
Happy New Year.
And let's
Glenn, thank
continue the
you.
conversation. Mike,
Happy
very
New Year,
nice
buddy.
meeting you.
Pleasure.
Brad, I love you, man. Take it easy.
Love you,
Okay,
buddy.
tell the
See ya.
fam I said hello. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yep.
Now, see, Glenn's a good dude. That's what you call a good dude.
Ah,
Yeah, he's amazing. And for all those listeners that haven't listened to his episode, I challenge everyone to go listen, because when I learned about his father and his, I believe it was uncle, they brought rock and roll to Spain from Cuba, because like every Cuban I've ever met has an unbelievable story, because they've left, they, in a great sense, they were separated from their culture and they went and dispersed throughout the world and created all this value. And I think he's another amazing light bringer in that way. So it's a very powerful story. Brad, uh, so you talked about action, just like a kind of where I want to go as we close the new year out. This New Year's Eve Jubilee, as Mike got me in that mindset. I love that. Is about foreshadowing action in a sense every year. This is our second time doing it. Last year was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. This year is uh, 5 a.m. to whatever time it is, 9 p.m.
does Brad know?
I mean, I invite that. What do you mean, no? Like, no.
What we've been doing all day?
Yeah. And that's why it's important that he was here. This is a big deal. So everyone that's contributed to the Culture Matters podcast, that like all day long, people that are part of our culture, guests that have been on the show multiple times, have come together to talk about their word of 2024, their word of 2025, and in the spirit of life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forward. So in that respect, in closing, Brad, what do you want the audience to think, right mindset? What do you want them to do, skill set? Who do you want them to be, habits? Like, what's your call to action for our listeners in 2025 if they're going to live on the level of action that you're modeling for all of us in this coming year?
Well, I would just want them to know that, working harder doesn't always get you what you think you want. Working harder will get you more of what you're getting. You need to not do more, but do something different. Like, I don't know if you've read the book, I think it's called Quantum Leap, but the quantum physics states that, like, if you just work harder, you're just going to get more of what you're getting. But if you want something different, you have to do something different. I liken it to a sheet of paper. So if you write my name on the third line and your name's on the 27th line and you press the gas, you're never going to catch me because you're not even on the same frequency. You have to change your frequency if you really want to, like, make a quantum leap. Okay. Just change your frequency. And your frequency is what you frequently see. So if you want to change your frequency, you have to change what you frequently see. You know, a lot of people that are historically famous for making a massive impact, the first thing they did was change their environment. They moved. They moved to a completely different location. You know, that had a lot of impact. So change your frequency, you know, and I think you're gonna find that even though it might be scary, I think it's gonna pay off in the long run. To me, you know, I wake up with extreme gratitude. Like
Mm,
I think that's my big advantage. When I wake up in the morning, I immediately smile, and it's natural now, it's a habit now. I smile because I realize I get another day. And because of that gratitude, simple gratitude, I don't need a, you know, rainbow of glitter shooting out of a unicorn's butt for it to be a good day. It's a
you
good
got
day.
another shot.
It's a good day the second I realize I get one. And what
Mhm.
that does to my frequency is it puts me up in the gratitude level where most people wake up and they start thinking about the past, which is, you know, anxiety and fear and doubt and worry and or the future. Either one is not really good. But if you can bring it to where you're living now. Like now is the only thing that actually exists. And in reality, like if you try to argue that, you can't argue that. It's the truth. Like right now is the only thing that exists. Even tomorrow, when it gets here, isn't any longer tomorrow. It's now. So live in the now, change your frequency, and start living at a higher frequency, and you'll start attracting the higher frequency. And the way I do that is gratitude. I start with the gratitude and then I try my best to remain grateful because again it gets tough, you know, obviously you have to remind yourself. And then last, you know, seek authenticity. That's the hardest thing you can do, in my opinion, is to become authentically you. And the frequency of authenticity is the highest form of frequency. And I think, coincidentally, one of the most attractive. The reason why I have millions of followers, and it sounds pretentious when I say that, but I do, um, is my authenticity. So I would say in 2025, folks, change your frequency and seek authenticity. That would be my, you know, deep advice. But my real advice, just to make sure people understand, because again, I solve for clarity. Take action. Quit worrying about failure. Quit worrying about consequence. Quit worrying about all the things that you supposedly, you know, will fret because that changes your frequency and the tone scale puts you down here in the doubt and the fear and the worry and the anxiety. And I don't know if I shared this with you, Jay. I think I did, but Mike, I haven't shared this with you. I'm really into Chat GPT because
Oh, yes.
in my mind, you know, all Chat GPT is or AI so far. It's not really artificial intelligence. It's more instant data. So
Instant aggregation of the data. Yeah.
yeah, because like people say, well, Chat GPT is this artificial intelligence. Not really. It just searches the internet in a millisecond and gives you everything that it found and it filters it out and it narrows it down and it freaking, you know, it's just very, 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 very fast
Yeah.
data aggregation. So I use it more than Google. So I went in one day and I Googled or I Chat GPT'd, if you were Satan, what would you do to keep someone from being successful? And the answer was crazy. It said, if I were Satan and I wanted to keep someone from being successful, number one, I would fill their mind with doubt and fear. Number two, I would distract them with instant gratification. Number three, I would surround them with negativity. Number four, I would give them a victim mentality. Number five, I would make sure that they remained comfortable, or at least they thought they were. Number six, I would make them believe that they had to plan everything. Number seven, I would erode their confidence. Number eight, I would make them focus on external rewards. Number nine, I would give them poor habits. And number 10, I would remove the sense of urgency. And then it went on to tell me why he would do each one of those things. And it's crazy because I identify with every single one of them. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And
Yeah.
so when I got done, I'm like, because I'm a logical guy, I'm like, well, if that's how Satan would stop you from being successful, well, then the opposite is how you will be successful. Okay. Get rid of this complacency and get a sense of urgency because he'd want to remove it, make you think you got all the time in the world. Create good habits, right?
Mm.
Self-development, exercise, nutrition, volunteering, kindness, giving, like develop good habits. I would just reverse what he said. Number 8, I wouldn't focus externally for rewards. I would focus internally. I wouldn't allow anyone to erode my confidence. I would build my confidence. I wouldn't allow anybody to make me believe that I have to know everything before I took action. I wouldn't allow myself to get comfortable. I won't adopt a victim mentality. I'll take personal responsibility and realize that it's up to me. And I would eliminate all negative influence. And then I would ultimately realize that it's not going to come overnight. I would get rid of instant gratification and then I would remove the doubt and fear. Now, the question is how? How do I do that? Well, again, use common sense. To get rid of fear and doubt, you need certainty. So go out there and do the work and take the bruises and take the punches and learn and experience. And pretty soon you become certain of things. Learn, ask, seek, which coincidentally the Bible tells you to seek. You know, instant gratification. They've proven with tests and kids and various, tests that if you delay gratification, you actually end up,
As long as you can.
yeah. So it's like all the things that he said he would do to keep a man from being successful is exactly what we all should do the opposite of.
Yeah.
So rewind it or rewind it a little bit, go through the 10 that Satan said he would do to you, and then just focus in 2025 and be aware and conscious of those things and catch yourself and be mindful and try to reverse those as best you can. And you'll be a lot better off by 2026.
If you're listening to this episode, follow the real Brad Lea on Instagram. Find Mike, or wait, Mike, what is it? At callmike.com. Mike, book a call. What's the
Call,
damn what?
callwithmike.com. I don't do on social.
Callwithmike.com.
I need to be like Brad. I need to do more socials, but callwithmike.com if you want to talk. I
Callwithmike.com.
want to pay
Follow the real
Brad just
Brad
a
Lea.
little bit of accolades because Brad, you are the 15th podcast for today. Okay. And unknowingly, your list at the end there, we touched on these attributes sparsely and independently throughout conversations today. And quite frankly, like that was almost as if he had been listening into
Profound.
these conversations and crystallized a perfect summary. Like it's weirdly ironic.
I think God is wants to protect
Like I'm
us.
actually
And
laughing at some of them. How how we spoke with a certain individual, we were covering a topic, and then Brad just freaking crossed the T and dotted the I, as if he was almost, listening earlier and came in today to refortify the principle, the 10 principles, like the commandments.
Well,
there's
again,
an old,
it,
go ahead.
it wasn't me. I was just the vessel through which it flowed.
But
We
there's an
talked
old
about a vessel today. That's crazy.
there,
Brad,
there's
stop it. Cut it out.
there's an old Jewish sentiment about at any given time in the world there's 36 righteous individuals that don't know that they are that. And you take them out and the world ends, but you keep them in and it continues. If you're listening to this podcast, follow Brad, call Mike, go listen to episode 49 of the Culture Matters podcast, season 5, episode 552. Go listen to Glenn Yopes. He's unbelievably awesome, amazing. Thanks guys for reigning in the new year here with us. And we will see you all next year on the Culture
Yeah,
Matters
thank you.
podcast, Jubilee. What'd you say, Mike?
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Brad.
Happy New
Thank
Year,
you.
guys.
Happy New
Peace.
Year.